Today, let's talk about the most familiar of all the visual elements, and that would be line. Line is, by definition, the path left by a moving point. So technically, an actual line that you lay down on a piece of paper is what is left when you drag that pen across the piece of paper. Obviously, it has to have more length than it has width, because then it would become a shape, right? And so it is the one that we use probably the most often. Sometimes people even refer to it as the nervous system of a work of art. You know, it establishes the structure of a work. If I asked you right now, draw an ice cream cone on your piece of paper, the first thing you would do is grab a pen or a pencil, and then you would start using lines. That's how ingrained line is to us when it comes to art. I want to talk about the types of line that are at an artist's disposal. So these are the types of line that you can go use to create a work of art. So the first one of those is actual line. And like I said just a minute ago, you just lay down that path using some sort of stylus or some sort of pencil or pen, and create a line of width, of length, not width. So you can see in this particular, this is an artist by the name of Saul DeWitt, and he does just all these big, huge line works. But that's all he does. He bases everything on line. This is another example of his work. This would be an example of a pencil drawing. So there's you can use different materials, different medias. You could do a sculpture just using line. The second of the types of line are psychic lines. Those are lines that are not really there, but you follow them anyway. Usually, a good way to think of this is the path of vision. So where people are looking, we have a tendency to also look, because we're very super interested in what other people are up to and what other people are doing. So in this particular work, the line left between the man and this woman, he's looking over here, this kind of bounces back and forth and drags us through the artwork. In this particular work, everyone's looking at the Christ child. This is a scene by Giotto from the Nativity. And so there's implied lines that happen here. They're looking here, they're looking here, they're looking here. Sometimes somebody could be looking and we don't even get to see what they're looking at. Like in this one's one of my favorites, when she looks off the page, she's looking at what else is going on or what other people are doing, but we don't even get to see it. The artist is just interested in her. He does it again. This is Toulouse-Lautrec. He's done both of these, and he's one of my favorite artists. But he did this a lot, where you just look and you think, what is so interesting over there? What are they looking at? In this particular painting, probably the strongest of all the lines in this work is right here, from her looking off, once again wondering what is happening out there. This is my favorite profile in all art history. I'll give you a close-up. There she is. There's just something about her. I just love that line of her face profile. I just love it. You could have a psychic line that looks directly out at you. That's a connection between you and the work of art. That could happen as well. The third type of lines is implied lines. Now, implied lines, once again, are not actually drawn lines, but usually we think of implied lines as strategically placing shapes or objects. So we read a line. So you might think of this as like connect the dots, when there's not really a line here, but by the way I place the dots, you see a circle. Okay, you see a line that forms a circle. They're everywhere, implied lines, right? We get in lines, we stand in lines. Cemeteries have lines, right? These create a line. The flags all come together to create a line because we followed that path across there. This would also be considered implied line. This is a drawing I did a while back, and you can see that it's a pear, right? But I didn't draw the shape of a pear. I just drew all the inside lines and did all these circles that kind of go round and round and round and round and round. And so it doesn't really have the outside lines to it. it just implies that shape. This also would be considered implied line. If you look at this, probably the strongest of the lines here is this circle, even though there really isn't a line there. You read it as a circle because this shape is cut in such a way, and then these outside lines, this border edge is cut that way that you see a circle. There's not a circle, but that it creates this really strong path that moves there. We can also point people in directions, right? Sometimes things we can use arrows to make it happen. Text is a very, very strong implied line. We read from left to right, right? So we're going to read the words as they go across the arrow. Here it is again, and you're going to follow those letters and read it. So you're going to go in the order or in that line that the designer wants you to. We can also have if we look at a work of art, you can say, I see actual lines in this, and I see implied lines in this, right? I can see actual lines just being drawn, here in the background, around, but I also see strong implied lines, where the edges of the colors come together and create a strong line there. So you can have more than one type of line in a work of art. This wouldn't have any psychic lines. I don't see any people to be looking anywhere. In this particular work, you can say, yeah, there's an actual line that happens here. There's some actual lines in the pattern of her dress and in the pattern of the little girl's dress. There's psychic lines from where they're looking between each other. And then there's edges meeting, right? I have these implied lines that happen because of these really strong shapes coming next to each other and forming a really strong line. So this yellow right next to the white creates a super strong line. Okay, those are the line types: actual, psychic, and implied.